Hello, everyone. I'm very excited tonight. I'm going to interview Heather Rozak, recreation therapist with Capital Care. I'm very, very excited to be able to do it because she is the kind of recreation therapist that is dedicated to the field and always looking for new things to make our profession grow. And I am sure you will love her. So, welcome, Heather.
Thank you. Thanks, Fernanda.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, let's start talking about a little bit about your background so people can know you.
Sure. I always like to start background-wise, not only education, but I grew up on a farm, so farm girl by heart. I, for sure have lived in the city longer than I've lived on the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the girl, that's for sure. So I grew up on a farm. My younger sister's 10 years younger than I am and was born in Ibiza. And from that moment on, I just decided that I wanted to do something, believe it or not, with children in healthcare, and didn't even know at that time that recreation therapy existed, but went into the phys ed department at U of A and took multiple practicums, placements in different centers. And one of those placements that I had taken was in a long-term care center with seniors as recreation therapy, and fell in love with it. And the seniors too, I always thought I'd work with kids and children, and fell in love working with seniors. My grandparents had a huge part in raising me growing up on the farm, and I just felt a kinship with working with the population. I love the histories and all of that. And I do have an adapted physical education degree, but have been a professional member of ATRA since 1996, and have really found it important to make sure that I keep educated and keep on top of things as things come up, just keep on learning. So I love having students. They keep me fresh. Not only do I hope that I'm teaching them lots of things that are important for the field and for their future, but also keeping me on my toes and making sure that I am able to provide education for them along the way, as well as stay fresh in what I'm doing. So yeah.
Awesome. And now you're working at Capital, right?
Yeah, I've been working at Capital Care since 1996. I had actually one of my practicum placements with a Capital Care facility, and was in Capital Care as a student. And then I was hired on as a recreation therapy assistant, and worked as a therapy assistant for a number of years, and then got a job as a recreation therapist. Very close to the same time, I started working at one center as a therapist and another center as a rec attendant at the time, RTA. And then I've been working as a rec therapist for Capital Care since then. I've gone through Albertans would know the Klein years. Our premier, Ralph Klein, there was lots of cuts that happened to healthcare at that time. So I was laid off a couple of times in there, and ended up working for Greater Edmonton Foundation as an activity convener for a little while. But through those layoffs, I ended up being able to work in all of the Capital Care sites except for one of them. So I worked in multiple different sites with many different populations within Capital Care. And the first time I was laid off, I was devastated, thinking that my life was ending because I didn't have a job. And I was, I had expected to work in that location for 30 years because my parents worked in their same jobs for 30 years or more. So I just had expected that that would be what my profession looked like. I do now, in reflection, think it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I became very flexible and learned so much at going from different sites and working with different populations, and just making sure that I was always learning and not getting stale what I was doing and making sure that it wasn't just my programming, it was me adjusting to the residents and the clients that I was working with at the time. So in reflection, that change was probably the best thing that ever happened for my career.
Mm-hmm.
When you're of getting laid off, not the best thing ever, but in reflection, it was good. I learned a lot from it. So
Heather, some time ago, you and your team found out that 20% of your residents were attending 80% of the activities. Based on that information, you have decided to make a change and started to use neighborhood model. This is so interesting. Could you talk about this and explain to us a little bit?
Absolutely. This has kind of been my world for about a year and a half now with Neighborhood Time. I don't know the year, and it wasn't me actually who went to a Walk With Me conference at Niagara Falls. And Schlegel Villages there is kind of our sister center with Capital Care in the East. They were talking about Neighborhood Time and how to program differently. And they actually presented the idea of the 80-20. People that from Capital Care from that conference came back to Edmonton and area, and we decided to look at our statistics and see if it was similar to that. And it was amazing because that 80-20 model fit exactly what was happening for ours. 80% of residents were attending 20% of the programs. So, or sorry, the other way around, 20% of the residents were attending 80% of the program. So we're doing all of this programming and we're not reaching people. So we really took a step back and thought, how can we reach people? And I was one of the first people, in Capital Care, all of our centers, we have recreation therapists, and, us all sitting at the table, I was one of the first people to question the change because, I thought a lot of our programs were already effective, but it was just a matter of programming for different people. And I was worried about not having a calendar to follow. And as we went through this process of learning on how to program for multiple people with different activities all at the same time, it just all of a sudden was an aha moment for me, and it clicked. And really, I saw the difference in the residents being able to make choices instead of us just coming and telling them what's happening now. The reflection on my own lifestyle makes a big difference to me because I'm not a person that likes to run to one program thing to the next. I do have a lot of leisure time and appreciate my own time with my family, and we're spontaneous that way. But also I still look forward to the planned events. So now I do think it is a happy mixture of having things that are planned, but also being able to have the neighborhood time where many people can be doing many things and choosing what they do in the moment. This helped Capital Care, I believe, so much going into COVID and the pandemic, because a lot of and to this day, a lot of our programming is one-to-one or neighborhood time type activities. We were already doing this type of programming and activities with the residents, where we ask them what they want to do, set them up, and then go on to somebody else and be able to come back. So we already knew what residents were capable of doing. We were okay with resources, knowing what we might need because of things that residents were able to do on their own. And we kept people, even in isolation, kept people doing activities, even though we couldn't be everywhere at once. The activities were being able to be spread, reach more people. So it really is changed a world of difference in our programming in Capital Care. And I do think it helped a lot throughout this COVID and pandemic over the last year for sure. So
awesome. I love the way you cover leisure time and the importance of assessing clients' preferences, because it allows clients to engage in meaningful activities. When I was in Brazil, I've had the opportunity to visit a clinic for individuals with mental health disorders and addictions. There were young individuals in a range of uh, 20 to 40 years old. Most of them were there because their families couldn't take care of, and they used to spend like 3 months there inside the clinic. And they had recreation time scheduled, like watching TV, exercise, yoga, and something else. I don't remember. But I was disappointed to see that the clinic was not exploring personal interests of the residents. There were residents like musicians, movie director, writers. I was thinking that those individuals could be doing something meaningful to them and to others. They could be using their professions, for example. I don't know, maybe ask a musician to play a 30 minutes concert, or the movie director to give a talk. And I was watching a webinar with you, and I believe you like this kind of programming, and that allows a resident to be a leader, right?
Yeah. We also do the Java program throughout Capital Care, and there's a little bit there about mentoring each other and letting the resident lead the program and us sit back. And if you do look back in reflection, we tend to be the leaders of the programs. This is what we're going to do. This is what's happening. And through neighborhood time, I can think of 3 people right off the bat that just really took lead on helping others, the pride that they had in leading other groups of people and facilitating and assisting other residents through an activity. You could just see the residents shine. We had one lady who was over 100 that would do puzzles or games, and she would come to us and tell us what she needed for a certain other group of residents, and would do it with 1 or 2 other people. And we would just listen to her on what she needed from us. We had another resident that played the guitar, and we set up his own sing-along. This was prior to COVID when we could do singing, but he would just start singing, and we would bring residents to him, and he would do his own sing-along, and we would go and do something else. And I do think there's this feeling sometimes as a recreation person and a culture in nursing that we need to supervise and watch people at all times. Whereas this being able to give the group, when we would come back and check in on people, this one particular resident with the sing-along would tell us, oh, you just missed this great song. Let's play it again for you because we did it so well. Or, and he's including people as they join in. And he would, and it wasn't scheduled on the calendar. It was just when he felt like doing it. And it was never a time where he felt like doing it and no one showed up. No matter when it was, there were always people that were interested. He would have bigger or smaller groups at that time. Another person that really stands out in my mind was during COVID. A lot of our spiritual programs are run by volunteers and could no longer come into the centers. So there wasn't a Bible studies or spiritual group that was happening weekly like it had been before. And one of our residents is very spiritual, and him and I sat down and I just asked if he would be able to lead a group. And he was a resident that would always be I don't want to use the word demanding, but a person that needed attention. So was always asking staff just some different questions, maybe getting into arguments with residents. But him and I spent a lot of time and really talked about what a spiritual program for the residents would be like. It doesn't have to be one particular denomination because we're all living together. And he would spend all week. He wasn't bothering anybody, residents or staff, because he was busy during the week planning his spiritual program for the residents. He would check in with me to make sure it was appropriate because he didn't want to make any wrong moves, and he wanted to do it in a a pleasurable way for everybody to be joined in. And then we would set him up with a microphone and a stand, and he would do the program. And he did a beautiful job. We were hesitant at first, but it's kind of being able to let people try. So many staff, when I heard that this gentleman was going to be leading, they were like, I don't know that he should. I don't think he will be appropriate. I don't think he'll know what to do. Everybody had these negative thoughts, and it's in a place of love. We want to protect our residents. We want to protect him from the possibility of failure. But I think, isn't that what life is all about, is a little bit of risk? And if you succeed, the benefits are so big. I didn't just throw him out there and let him do it. We worked together and we worked through things, and he did an excellent job. He, did need that support, but he had a group of residents that would come and be able to do that. And as long as we were able to still do small groups, he did it. It's been a long time now. We're now 1-to-1 at that particular site and neighborhood time. So he hasn't been able to do it in a while because of further isolation and restrictions. But while it was going on at the beginning of COVID, when we couldn't have volunteers come in, a resident filled that void. So it was amazing to see him thrive and the pride he had, and other residents were proud of him. And yeah, it was I get goosebumps thinking about it because it worked so well. And so many residents, talent. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I would love to hear about assessments, how it works at Capital, and the importance of identifying the user preferences, and how do you evaluate if any specific program was meaningful for some residents, like this one, for example, but more about assessments.
Sure. With assessments, I've been with Capital Care since 96. So yes. I've been for a long time. I think we're on our 4th standard assessment. So over time, the assessments have changed. I've been on 3 of the committees, assessment committees, where certain rec therapists have gotten together, looked together about what's out there, what's available, and what we would like to do for a standard assessment for Capital Care. So there's definitely been a process. I do have to say, residents in long-term care, their abilities have also changed in the last 20-some years. I would say even in the last 5 years, residents' abilities have changed. We really, where we're at now, we've had this new assessment for the last few years, and it is based on a know-me profile. So really just being able to, we looked at something that, using our standardized assessment, that we wanted to be able to gather some information about the resident that more than us would be able to look at. We didn't want to complete it, put it in the chart, and then nobody sees it or looks at it. We wanted the information that we gathered to be more important and used beyond even the recreation team, beyond the other disciplines. So we came up with, we adapted the know-me profile for Capital Care, and it has a resident picture on it. It has a life history, your support system, and then things to consider. So anything in that things can consider are things about abilities and successes, things that might impact somebody's involvement in recreation and leisure. And then we have recommendations where recreation goals would be put in, a focus and a goal would be put in there, but also recommendations to other staff and disciplines and to volunteers when they were involved, so that we could then take that Know Me poster and be able to share it within across disciplines and promote more of a team. So people are looking not just at a diagnosis, but at a resident and their history and their likes and dislikes. Evaluating programs, once we come up with that focus and that those goals, that the residents' goals that they want to achieve, we just make sure that we're always checking through point-click care with MDS, making sure that we're inputting information there, and doing throughout our conferences, our annual conferences that we do, we reflect on the resident and make sure, is that goal still a SMART goal? Is it still something that is capable of happening? Is it doable? I'm really particular with our goals that we don't just list 10 goals that are kind of like a wish list. I have to make sure that with the resources, including the staffing that we have, that they're doable goals, that this is something that we're actually going to work on. And then we reflect on our statistics, and we're always talking as a team. So the rec therapists and the RTAs, the recreation therapy assistants, are always talking together on where people are at. Is someone struggling? Is somebody still doing well in the program? Is it that we have to change those goals or adapt our programming? So that has been really reflective in neighborhood time, because when you're setting somebody up and leaving, we have to still make sure that we're checking in to make sure that they're still capable. They could have been able to do that was set up last week, and maybe this week is not working for them so much. So we still have to constantly do that evaluation of the residents' abilities, but also our programming as well.
Yeah, wonderful. And are you using virtual activities during COVID? Virtual?
Sorry, can you say that again? Virtual, yes, we are. Yeah, we you know, it's tough because it was a fantastic donation from Capital Care Foundation. They donated smart televisions, which is life-saving after the weather got cold and we were no longer able to do garden entertainment and garden parties and things like that in our courtyards or outside, and had to move things indoors. The smart TVs or the virtual world started for us, right? So having to hook up to the smart TVs, the biggest problem in any of the large sites in Capital Care is that connection of having the connection to Wi-Fi in the large buildings is so tough. If we're able to set up in a common area, then we're able to do a lot of virtual connections through the large smart TVs or iPads or laptops, things like that. But once we get down to the hallways, it's really difficult to connect virtually because of the connections aren't available. So we're constantly looking at opportunities on how to do that. There's no easy fix in the large buildings just because of what's behind the walls and how they're built. So I do think that is something in the future we need to address and be able to look at on soon. I think within the next 5 to 10 years, everybody's going to be moving in with their own devices. So that's the way of our world. You know, we're just kind of in that pocket where this generation didn't have their own devices. The next generation will, right? So we have to be prepared for that and be prepared for people to be able to access the internet from their own rooms or down the hallways. And that is something Capital Care is looking at in the future of how can we have that hardwired into our buildings. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, for virtual, what we're doing, we have a connection actually with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra through Comforts in Care, where they have leased us tablets with preloaded concerts already on them. So we don't need to connect to the internet. There is also a link that we have that we can go onto the big smart TV or connect that way, but preloaded these concerts, we're able to show anybody on the tablets. People are really enjoying that. We do have some Zoom or Skype meetings with some entertainers, or we've done drumming circles online. We're doing a Bible studies. That's another thing that we're starting up, a Bible studies, just to be able to reach that spiritual piece for people. So yeah, the facility that I work at in Capital Care Strathcona, so that's in Sherwood Park, we don't have an upstairs. We're spread out. So we have lots of courtyard. So what we've been benefiting from is pet shows like dog shows, or we've had horses come into our courtyard and we can see through the windows. So residents will either be in their rooms or in the alcoves and be able to see the dogs or the horses through the windows and connect that way. We had groups of students come with signs and things like that and be able to see each other through the windows. So definitely COVID has adapted. We're really missing that live entertainment that's, comes to the center all the time. And we do connect through links, or there's a lot of free things on YouTube, or a lot of our volunteers have been very helpful and record things for us. So we've been showing a lot of that, but yeah, there's nothing like live entertainment.
No, really no.
Yeah, I always say I have no talents. I can't carry a tune. I love music, but I can't carry a tune. I'm not creative. I'm not a knitter, none of those things. I resource. I know how to resource and bring people in that know how to do those things. But man, this is the time I wish I played a guitar or could carry a tune or something.
Well, your passion for your work.
Oh, you can connect something like that. That's just so valuable.
Yeah. Heather, do you usually get staff from other disciplines to engage with the residents, and how does it impact the routine?
Yeah, I think, you're always going to have people that shine and that really enjoy engaging with residents, whether it's through leisure or whether it's the care that they provide on a daily basis. And there's just some people that are naturally born to do that and are really good at their jobs that way. And there's other people that are good in their jobs in other ways, but it doesn't come so natural to them. So we always do try to connect with the people that it comes naturally to and encourage those other people to connect through leisure with the people that we're working with the seniors. And, sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not. We've been really lucky through the isolation that the staff have been, I think, engaging with residents in a leisure sense more than ever now, because they're all down the hallways together. And the staff stay there and the residents stay down the hallways, and the staff are now joining in the recreation programs. I did find before COVID, neighborhood time did also help this too. I found nursing staff felt like they were intruding if they came and joined in a group, or that was recreation's time to be with the residents and they would go and do something else. Whereas I think now with neighborhood time, that's blurred a little bit. And then with COVID and restrictions, it's blurred even more because, we're constantly asking the staff, what resources do you need? So if we're not there, they can do something with the residents and be engaged. And again, there's just those people that are naturally able to engage that way and are doing it more than ever now because they're more around and feel more comfortable joining in the activities. So absolutely.
Awesome. Well, it's almost 30 minutes. I could stay here forever. If I would live in Edmonton, really, I would visit you once a week just to keep me inspired. You're so amazing. Thank you so much.
When you're this way or I'm that way, we'll have to get together for coffee when that's allowed.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about something that I didn't ask you and you consider it's important for recreation therapists?
I just think I have a passion for students as well, and I can't talk enough about how important it is to connect across our discipline. Our discipline is growing so fast now. It's being recognized through COVID, and I learned the most through my experiences and change. And I can't say enough to students that getting placements and finding out where their strengths and where their weaknesses are is really important, because you want to be in an area and working with a population that you really enjoy. I always thought I wanted to work with children until I had experience working with seniors and fell in love with it. And to this day, 20 some years later, I'm still passionate about what I do, and I do love my job, and not everybody can say that. And I think we have a profession where we get to love our jobs and get paid for it. So as students, I can't encourage them enough to get that experience. And whether that is just talking to other therapists, talking to other students, talking to their professors, whatever it is, it's right now it's hard to volunteer in a site and get that practical experience. But if you have the choice of a practical route versus just the book route, I would definitely recommend getting that experience for sure. So, and there's more ways to connect. Like I said, reach out and just talk to people. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you. I have no words for your participation here.
Thank you so much, Fernanda. It was wonderful spending this moment with you, and hopefully we meet again sometime.
Sure, we will. Bye-bye, everybody. So see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye-bye.